Hello, Wolfpack. Welcome back. Are you ready to hunt for some awesome games? Well, you should be, because this is Top 10 Hack and Slash Games. Number 10. The Lord of the Rings. Taking after the film series, Lord of the Rings is basically experiencing the film by playing as the characters who go through the same exact journey that the game takes place in. You're fighting the army of Sauron, his entire armada of orcs, and basically trying to protect the kingdom from the orc attacks, the same kind of story you saw in the movies. The funnest part of the games go to Aragorn the Hunter, Legolas the Elf Archer, and Gimli the Dwarf Warrior. Since they experience the most action in the movie, it's only fitting that they experience the most action in the actual game. Their part of the game is pretty much the fun part of the hack and slash experience, being in the third-person kind of fighter with trademark medieval weapons. They're fighting an army of orcs and each get harder and harder as the game goes on. Pretty fun game, but it takes place in the GameCube system, basically. Remember when you used to have your friends come over to play multiplayer? Yeah, you'll have to do it that style again. But otherwise, it's a pretty good hack and slash game on its own and definitely deserving to be mentioned on this list. Number 9. Castlevania. The Lord of Shadows 1 and 2, and possibly Curse of Darkness. The one we followed, though, it pretty much is Simon Belmont's father trying to raise his son and wife in a safe environment, getting rid of evil supernatural forces walking the earth. He's part of this team of knights that are basically hunting down the non-earthly forces at hand and trying to kill them all in order to make the world a safe place for Simon. Of course, it's a foregone conclusion that Simon will grow up becoming exactly like his father and fighting evil supernatural forces, but it's pretty good. Amazing gameplay, a strong story, and it's voiced by Patrick Stewart in the narration. Castlevania definitely deserves a spot in the hack and slash games. Number 8. Lollipop Chainsaw. This one's kind of crazy and a comedy, but it's pretty good hack and slash. The only flaw is the gameplay isn't as good. It's got one of those errors with your camera where you try and focus it, and the AI running the camera thinks it's helping you by repositioning it automatically, but it's only distracting and kind of pulls you out of the game. But you think a game about a girl wielding a chainsaw and talking to her boyfriend's severed head would be kind of creepy, but the game plays it all for comedy, and it kind of works. Yes, the protagonist is very interesting and probably the funniest character in a hack and slash you'll ever meet. Lollipop Chainsaw is basically in a zombie world and you're killing, as you guessed it, zombies. Pretty fun, pretty intense, but more of the humorous kind of hack and slash if that's your thing. There's not too much focus on the story and it gets kind of boring in the combat a little since it gets so repetitive. But Lollipop Chainsaw did do a little well, more so in Japan, not much in the US, but it's definitely worth a one-time playthrough. Number 7. Transformers Devastation. Taking place in the Transformers 80s universe. Yes, it does take place in the cartoon, and even cooler, it has the voice cast of the original Transformers cartoon back in the 80s. All except for Starscream, of course, and a few others because their voice actors have sadly passed away, but they got suitable replacements to voice the classic characters. Basically, Optimus and his Autobots must fight the Decepticons and prevent them from, you guessed it, taking over the world.
Of course!
Overall, it is a very fun and decent game. There's a lot of collectibles, and the bosses are really amazing. The only problem is the graphics look kind of weird since they're trying to emulate the 80s cartoon, which itself had weird animation on its own. But otherwise, Transformers Devastation, although not as good as the Cybertron games, it is a decent follow-up if you compare it to Rise of the Dark Spark, whatever it was. That was terrible. But Transformers Devastation is probably the best hack-and-slash Transformers game you'll ever play. Number 6. Darksiders. This game is basically the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse trying to cause the apocalypse. I'm not sure about the story. It's kind of dumb and stupid in the story, but it's got a lot of fun gameplay and the characters are definitely good. In one, you play as War, who's trying to clear his name and prove his innocence. And the second one, which gets kind of weirder, is Death, who's trying to stop the apocalypse and bring peace and prove that he's good. It's kind of weird making the Four Horsemen heroes in these titles, but the games itself are definitely fun. The gameplay is you're fighting evil demons and trying to bring peace upon the world despite the apocalypse occurring. But the Four Horsemen are definitely epic action stars, and this hack and slash is worth a playthrough, but I wouldn't suggest taking the story very seriously. Number 5. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Basically, you play as a child soldier turned cyborg, Raiden. He's trying to stop an evil conspiracy to cause a war around the world, trying to make a profit off of selling weapons to other countries to kill each other. So basically, he's trying to stop a war and use violence to create peace. I'm not sure about how that works, but honestly, I played it because I enjoyed killing people as a child soldier. But Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, although not the best Metal Gear in the series, it does have the coolest animation, graphics, and gameplay worthy of checking out and trying out maybe just once. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance is definitely a rising title in great hack and slash games. Number 4. Alice: Madness Returns. I know, you're all probably getting tired of seeing Alice Madness Returns and all its characters making our lists so often. However, this is the game series that the game actually belongs to. Alice Madness Returns is a darker take on Alice in Wonderland. Alice turns out to be actually insane, and she's trying to fight through Wonderland to reclaim her sanity because, as the title implies, the madness has returned. Pretty fun game, pretty intense. The gameplay is awesome, and I bet you're wondering, how did Alice Madness Returns do better than the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse? Well, lots of reasons. And I bet you're probably wondering what those reasons are. Well, the gameplay and the graphics are pretty good. There's a lot more collectibles that are easier to find. The only problem is it's a bit linear because it's only going straight forward. You know, for a game that takes place in Wonderland, you kind of wish you could explore Wonderland. But yes, Alice Madness Returns has the best story out of all these hack and slash games because it's much more complex and more psychological because Alice must fight through her own mind in order to become sane, and there are parts that take place in the real world that are kind of slow but very interesting, and her characters are, as you guessed it, mad and exciting. Alice Madness Returns is definitely a hack and slash game that you should own in your collection. Number 3. God of War. This story is mainly about a Spartan named Kratos, and he's been summoned by Athena to kill Ares, the God of War. As you probably guessed it, he does succeed and become the new God of War. And this deserves number 3 because Kratos is just so awesome. Kratos is an epic action hero and so cool that he can kill the Greek gods. All of his other titles is basically his conflict with the other gods after killing Ares and taking his place. And basically, as you guessed it, he's a Spartan and he's always at war and fighting. The graphics are amazing, the gameplay is awesome, and the combos are definitely hard to pull off but are intense when you do. God of War is definitely one of the best hack and slash games ever made, but there are much better hack and slash games up ahead. Number 2. The Devil May Cry series. This, of course, had to be on a high place on this because this is one of Capcom's best hack and slash games ever. You play as a character named Dante, who's part demon, part angel, but he's wandering the earth, taking up jobs and bounties, killing other demons, which is pretty much the majority of the game. However, one of the plots we most know well is his fight with Virgil. Virgil is his brother who betrayed him after using Dante to kill other demons so no one would stand in his way so he could, you guessed it, take over the world.
Of course!
But Devil May Cry is full of awesome gameplay, exciting combos, and of course a colorful protagonist that you get to play as and journey with. And now finally, our number 1, Bayonetta. Bayonetta is the most epic hack and slash game. You play as a witch named Bayonetta, the character you see in the title. Bayonetta is trying to recover memories of her past, and Yeah, that's pretty much it. All she is wandering around the earth, trying to look for memories to recall her past and find out her origin. Of course, she has a powerful enemy standing in her way, and that enemy is God himself and the armies of hell. I have to say the angels look kind of ugly, especially for creatures that are supposed to be servants of God. And plus, with God in your game, you could pretty much expect this game is going to be hard and very challenging, but also very fun because Bayonetta is just such a colorful anti-hero. The game has good gameplay, good combos, excellent hack and slash, but however, the one problem I have is that it's very long, but you kind of want to play a long game, and there's not as much replay value after you beat it once because you have to go through everything all over again. However, one of the best parts of Bayonetta is not just the character, but the soundtrack and the music actually used behind it. It's so upbeat and it pumps you up for all the action you get to play as. The boss fights are incredible, and of course, even during loading screens, you get to practice your moves with Bayonetta, making the entire game worth playing. Bayonetta is probably the best hack and slash game out there, but this is just our opinion. There are probably better hack and slash games. Well, that's it for us. We hope you enjoyed our video. Please feel free to comment, like, subscribe, or whatever. You don't have to. Till then, we hope you'll join us for future more videos. Remember, keep hacking, keep slashing.